Hi guys, I'm Jesse at strobepro.com, and today I'm excited to show you the brand new 400M and 600M studio strobes. These are designed to be an affordable alternative to the XPRO series, so let's take a quick look and see what we've got. So once you pull off the top styrofoam, you're going to reveal your strobe and the accessories that it comes with. So let's go through those each one by one. So first off, we've got our strobe here. Really nice strobe. It uses the same body as the XPRO series, so they will look very similar if you've used that strobe before. A couple minor differences that we'll talk about in a little bit here. But first thing we want to do is get the bulbs mounted. So let's put this on a stand and then we'll do that. So you want to make sure you've got a thumb screw over here. We're just going to back that thumb screw off and we're going to drop it onto our spigot. So this will fit any standard light stand, and all we're going to do, I've got the handle loose here, so just line that up over the top, and then we're just going to tighten that guy down, and you can see that we're still tilting here. So what I need to do is I just need to tighten the handle right like that, and it'll prevent it from tilting anywhere. So really easy. Once you have that, you're all mounted and ready to go. Next thing we need to do is get this cover off. You're going to see this blue little latch. This is one way you can differentiate the XPRO series and then just the 400, the M and the 600M. This is blue on the 4 and 6, and then on the XPRO it's black. All we're going to do, we're going to pull this back, and we're going to give this cover a quarter turn. Now, this is just a travel protection cover. This is the very first thing you always want to take off before you turn your strobe on. If you turn your strobe on and start using it with this, you're going to melt it, and it's a big fire hazard. So please, please, please make sure you take this off. It is not a snood. It's not any type of modifier. It's just a protection cover. So what we have here is a glass protection dome. Now, you can handle this with your bare hands, but I just prefer to use the plastic or like a microfiber cloth so you don't get fingerprints all over it. And you're going to see these three little retaining latches here. So this is just going to be friction fit, but what we're going to do is we're going to come in, and this goes on the outside of those clips. So I've started on the bottom one there, just put it on the outside. I'm going over to the other side here closest to me. And then the top one, you can kind of just, whoops, it just slid off there. You can kind of just push it down a little bit, and then it just pushes straight on. You're gonna feel it kind of clip in there. Once that's on, you just wanna make sure you hear that snap, that it's clipped in, so it's secure, because you don't wanna break those. Next, we've got our modeling lamp here. It's gonna come in this long white box. And this one you definitely don't want to put fingerprints on, so use the foam that you've got here that it comes with to screw it in there. When you put oil and stuff on the glass, it gives you a hot spot and just degrades the life of the bulb a bit quicker. So this is just like a normal bulb at your house. You're just going to put it straight in and just twist it in like a light bulb. Very easy. Once it's tight, you don't want to over tighten it, just so it's snug. Then that's installed. And that's the modeling lamp, which we'll show you. That's going to help you find your focus and point your strobe where you want it to go. To put the protection cover back on, you're going to notice that we've got three prongs. This is a Bowen style speed ring modifier. So that just means that these three prongs line up to the three prongs on here. Now, whether you're putting a softbox, a reflector, a snoot, anything, this light uses this system. It's really easy, and your protective cover goes on the same way. So it just goes straight on. You line up those holes, push it in, and give it a quarter turn. You'll feel it snap in. Now, after you've been using your strobe, make sure, don't turn it off all the way. Turn your modeling lamp off, let the fan cool it down, and make sure that your bulbs are cooled off for a little bit before you put this cover back on and start to travel with it again in your case. Now you're going to see this little pack of fuses. There's 2 fuses in there. Don't miss them when you're unpacking your strobe. They're in the box. Now chances are you'll never have to use this, but in case you do, the way that you do it, if you look in here just above the power cable where it connects, there's a little picture of a fuse, and you just take a little flathead screwdriver just under there, pop that out and the fuse tray slides out and you can put a new fuse in. Chances are you'll never have to do it, but you do have a couple spares just in case. Next, you're going to see a PC sync cable that comes with your strobe. Now, this is a 3.5 millimeter PC sync, and this is a way to trigger your strobe. Now, I highly recommend not doing this because this has a built-in radio receiver, which is a far better way to trigger this light. But in case of emergency, if you ever had to, you would take the 3.5 end, plug it into the PC sync, and then the other end is going to go to your camera. Now, just be aware that not every camera model has a PC sync port. So if you don't, you're going to be out of luck, or you're going to need an adapter for that. But this is really just a backup that we give you in case of emergency. Next is your power cable. This one's wrapped. I've already opened one here. So one end is obviously a 110 volt plug-in just into the wall. And then this end goes right into the back of the strobe. Really easy. Line it up, push it in. Make sure the other end is not plugged into the wall while you're doing this. Plug this in first and then plug it into the wall. Okay. All right, guys, we're plugged in. We've installed the lamps, and now we're ready to go into the actual strobe functions. So let's turn it on and take a look. So the first thing I want to talk about is this buzz button, because either you'll like that or you'll be annoyed by it. But what it's for is when I adjust, I'm going to hear it beep every time. But the main purpose is when I hit my strobe, it's going to beep when it's ready to recycle. So this is a very fast strobe. A lot of models will like to key off of that. So some people like it on. If you don't, it's not a big deal. All you're going to do is just hit that buzz button. Now it's off. When it recycles, you're still going to see this light over by the test that illuminates once it's ready. You're just not going to have that beep anymore. There's a number of ways that we can control the power level on this, and the main way is with the dial here. So when I rotate this dial, 1 to 1 is full power, and then if I rotate all the way down, 1/32 is lowest power, and then you're going to see if I go any lower than that, you'll see a double line, which means that it's turned off. So one thing, you see this light, like if I go, let's say I'm going to 1/8, I'm just going to dump that charge here. If I go to 1/8 and I want to turn it down to 1/32, you're going to see this light that starts to blink. What's happening internally is that the strobe is dumping the power without flashing it. So that's a nice feature. Now you see it just stop there. That means that the power is dumped. We're at 1/32 power and we're ready to shoot. If I have it up like this and I turn it down real quick and I shoot, you're going to have too much power stored in there. So you always want to make sure that the power is dumped. You can let it do it automatically, or you can just hit the test button and it will dump it for you a little bit quicker if you want. Next button I'm going to talk about is the modeling lamp button. So this is the bulb that we screwed in the front. Now that bulb is not exposed in any of our photos. The flash is always going to overpower that. So you don't have to worry about that. It's just to help you find focus. If you've got a softbox on there, you want to see where it's pointed. That's what the modeling lamp is designed for. So when I hit the modeling lamp, right now it's off, and you can see that indicated down on the left there. If I hit it again, it says prop. Now what does that mean? Prop means proportional modeling lamp. So what the strobe is trying to do is give you a general representation of what you're going to get in your photo. So as I turn the power up, the modeling lamp is getting brighter. As I turn it down, the modeling lamp is getting dimmer. Now I've got another setting that I can hit the modeling lamp button again, and that goes to the percentage. So right now I want it, it's at 100%. So if I was trying to light up a room or something and I want it that full power, that's great. Otherwise, I can hit our dial here, which also functions as a button. You see the set on top there. Push it in, you'll see that start to blink at 100, and I can lower that down and set it to wherever I want. So if I've got it at 15% there, now let's say I turn it off and later I want my modeling lamp back on. Prop, now I'm set at 15%, and I can change that again back to 100 if I wanted to. So You don't always have to have it on, but it's a really nice feature of this light as well. Next button is this S1, S2. So what is that all about? Well, it's about triggering this light, and there's a number of ways that we can do that. So you'll see right up on top here, there's this little ball, this little red ball. What that is the optical sensor on this light. So let's say we didn't have a radio trigger, but we had a pop-up flash on our camera or another speed light. If we enable S1 by pushing it once here, you'll see S1 come. Now this strobe is looking for another flash to trigger it. And like I said, it can be any other flash. As soon as it sees that, it fires in sequence with it, and you're good to go. Now the thing about S1 and optical triggering in general is that if you're at an event, say you're shooting a wedding or something, and you know there's a bunch of uncles and other people taking photos and they've all got flash, any one of those flashes is going to trigger your light. So you want to be really careful and selective about where you use optical triggering. A far better use to trigger this light is going to be the radio controller, which we'll show you in a minute. But this, if you're just in a home studio or something, you can do it this way. Now, S2, if I flip to that, that's another option for triggering. And what S2 does is it ignores the pre-flash. So if you're using like a TTL or red-eye reduction on a pop-up flash, it will ignore that first infrared burst that you can't even see and fire on the second burst to keep it in sync. So very rare that you're going to be in this function, but it is there in case you're using TTL or red-eye to trigger this. So this port right here, a lot of people ask, is that for like charging USB or something? No, it's not. This is a legacy port. So some of our older flashes and strobes use what's called the XRM, and it's a little USB receiver that plugs in. So this is just to make it backwards compatible with that. If you don't have one of those, there's going to be no function to that. So just you can ignore the USB port there. One of the best things about this light is that it has our X Series radio receiver built in. That means that there's no other parts or anything, receivers we have to buy. It's all inside here, ready to go right from the box. All we're going to need is one controller, and if we've already got that, it's the same controller that's going to control all our X Series speedlights and other strobes that we might already have. So to activate that, you're going to see this little bridge button. So it's the group channel and the S1, S2. I'm going to hold those two together. It's about 2 seconds and it activates. All of a sudden you're going to see the wireless up on the top left there. So that means that we've now activated the receiver in there. You're going to see channel 1 is showing, and then we've got a little picture of some dip switches, and we've also got our group over here. So let's just go through those real quick. First of all, we want to decide which group we're going to put this light on. And to do that, we're just going to hit the group channel button here. It's going to start to blink, and it actually changed it. So I can flip through it with the button if I want. But otherwise, I'm just going to use my dial over here, rotate through. I can go A, B, C, D, E, F, and then go all the way 0 to 9 as well. But we're just going to leave this one on A. Once we've decided what group we're going to pick, we can just hit the set button, or if we just leave it, it'll lock in there. So what does the group mean? What's the difference between group and channel? Well, the channel has to communicate with your radio trigger. So we always have to have our channel if we're on one, our controller has to be on one. But the group differs in the way that we could have multiple strobes here. So if I have another light, maybe I want those to be controlled independently. So I would set one to A, another one to B, another one to C, and so on. Let's say I had two background lights, but I want those to be controlled at the same power level. I would just set those both to A, for example, and then when I adjusted A on my controller, those would both move at the exact same power. So if you want them at the same power, keep them on the same group. If you don't, then just separate them. So next we have our channel, and you'll see group channel. Whenever you see another function on the same button, that means if you hold it, you're going to activate that secondary function. So I hold it, you're going to see channel start to blink, and we can rotate through whatever channel we want. So all the way up to 32 different channels. And when I turn this, you see the little dip switch pattern changing. That's for some of our older controllers that still use dip switch. So it just gives you an indicator if you wanted to be able to match them up. It just makes it way easier so you can see, you know, 1 down, 2 up, 2 down, or whatever you choose there. So same as we did with the group, we're just gonna pick one. Let's say we're using channel 1 again. If we leave it, it'll lock in, or I push my set button and we're locked. So that's really all there is to it. This stays in the memory, so even if I turn the light off and turn it back on, it's still going to be activated. We're still on group A, still on channel 1, and still at the same power level, which is really nice. So you can just go into your studio, flip it on, and be right where you left off. So let's get into the controller and show you how to set that up. Okay guys, so we have rigged up a XPRO controller to show you how this works, and it is the controller that I would recommend right now. This light is backwards compatible with any of our X Series controllers, including the XTM and just the regular XT, but the XPRO is going to give you the largest screen and dedicated buttons on the side here, which is one of the main benefits of this. So just like we set up on the actual strobe itself, we need to set the channel and we need to set the group on here. So if we go to the channel button, so you're going to see zoom/channel. So again, remember what that means. We hold the button on the secondary function, hold that, and now up on the top is highlighted on channel. As I rotate through there, you're going to see we've got our multiple channels. We can go all the way to 32, but we're just going to stay on 1 here. I hit my set button. That is locked in. So we don't have to touch that again. Now our groups are indicated down the left side here, and there's a dedicated button for each one. So we're set on A over here, so we're really only concerned with A on this controller. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hit the button for A. It's going to highlight it. So now I'm in M for that is manual, and this is a manual strobe. So you don't have TTL functions. So even if I was to hit the mode button here, that's off. If I go to TTL, you're going to see that it still shows that the strobe is off because that function is not enabled on that strobe. So if I hit it again, we go back into manual and we've got our power display back up. So just like we adjusted power on the actual strobe with the dial here, we're going to just use the dial on the controller, and I'm just going to rotate that to whatever I want. And you can see the strobe is dumping the power as I'm doing that because we're going low. Now at any time, if I want to test fire this, say I'm using a light meter or anything, I've got the test button over here. Just hit the test, and that's easy to do. One thing to keep in mind, that the lowest power that this 400M and the 600M goes to is 1/32 on the low end. So if I dial this all the way down to 1/32, it's going to stop there on the actual strobe. But if I go further, I can go like 1/64 or lower. You can see that it's not going any lower on the actual strobe. So just keep that in mind. Once you hit the lowest power setting, even though your controller is showing it going lower, it will not, because this strobe is limited to 1/32. That's one of the main differences between the XPRO and just the 400M here, is that the XPRO will go 2 stops lower down to 1/128th of its power. So let's say that we want to change the modeling lamp. We can do that from the controller itself here. Now, if you look, we're highlighted on A, but all our other functions have disappeared. What you need to do is just hit the set button, and now they've all come back again. So what we're interested in doing is the modeling lamp, which is over here, MOD, and I will just hit the modeling lamp, and I don't know if you can see on the wall, but the modeling lamp has turned on. Now you can see it's at proportional again, so as I bring the power up and down, the modeling lamp is going to change. What happens if I want it just to be at a certain percentage? Well, the controller is only going to turn the modeling lamp to whatever it was set to on the strobe. So let's just turn this off, for example, here. And let's say I wanted this to be set at 100%. I'm going to just turn the modeling lamp on. There's proportional. I'm at 100% there, okay? So I'm going to turn it off by the controller. Now when I turn it back on, it goes to the last function. So you can see it's at 100%. So just remember that if you wanted it on proportional or a certain percentage, this is only going to turn it off and on. We can't actually go in and adjust the power of the modeling lamp from this. One other thing to keep in mind is that the controller, when you're using it with this strobe, is always in control. So if I go up to my studio strobe and let's say I adjust the power to 1/8, okay? And I'm thinking that it's changed to 1/8. Well, it hasn't actually, because as soon as we fire this off the controller, it's going to be right back, and you see it automatically just put that 1/16 back on there. So it doesn't matter what power level you do it on. So if I change, you know, I'm on 1/8 there now, it adjusted it. I've got someone in my studio, I say, oh, go change that power of the light. They change it, I think it's going to be half power, I fire it, and it's not, it's still at 1/8. So just keep that in mind, it's really important. One other thing I wanted to show you, or actually tell you about, is just the difference between the XPRO and the manual strobe here. You're going to see this sync button on here. This is high-speed sync. So on the XPRO, you can go to 1/8000 sync speed. On the manual series here, you're going to be limited to your camera sync speed, which is usually between 1/200th and 1/250th, depending on your camera model. So that's just something to keep in mind. A lot of people don't need that in the studio. It's pretty rare that you would actually need to go over your camera sync speed. But that is one of the differences between the two. So just keep it under your camera sync speed and you'll be fine. So there are a lot more features in this controller that I could talk about, but we've made a separate video already for that, and we'll link it in the description below. So you can go watch that video to see all the custom features of this controller. And I recommend just watching that one through too, so you're completely familiar with how to control everything on this XPRO series radio controller. Okay guys, I wanted to show you how to install an umbrella on this because there is a specific mount. Now you can pick up this, this is just a 7-inch 55-degree reflector. When you get this, you're going to see, I don't know if you can see it on the camera there, you're going to see this little punch out. That's for the umbrella shaft to run through. And so when you get your reflector, you're going to want to make sure, just push that thing in, and then we're just going to gently wiggle that until this little piece, the tab, breaks off, and now we're ready to mount that. So again, this reflector has our Bowens mount on there, and we're just going to line that up. And keep in mind that we want this hole to be up on the top because this is our umbrella shaft mount, so we need to line it up for that. So the hole at the top, straight in, quarter turn, now it's locked in there. Now, when we take an umbrella, this is just a 33-inch shoot through, we're going to bring the umbrella through the hole right here. And then once it's through the hole, we're going to just insert it. And there's a clamp in there that's gripping that, so this is not just going to slide out for you. It automatically grips it. And then you just control the distance to whatever you want. Just like that. So really easy to use an umbrella if you need to. So I also wanted to show you how to mount a softbox. In this case, we've got our 33-inch Rapid Beauty dish. And this thing is awesome. It's one of my favorite modifiers. Check out the video on that. It's just white inside, and then I don't have any of the diffusers in here right now, but you've got the reflector plate. And you're going to get this, and it's going to have the Bowens ring installed on it already. So just like we installed with the reflector and the protection cap, the same system. So I find it easier to open the flap, whether it's on a softbox or this beauty dish. So then I can grab this from the back here. And it makes it much easier to put this on when we're coming on this way. If I'm trying to put it on from the front, it's tough to line up. So this way I can guide this across the glass, so I'm not going to have an issue with it. And all I'm doing, I'm turning till it lines up, quarter turn, it's locked in now. I close up this, and now I've got the 33-inch mounted on there, and it's a really nice modifier. When you're taking any modifier off, just be careful. Don't just pull this from here. Make sure you've got a grip on it, because once you release it and give it a quarter turn, it's going to want to just fall off. So you're going to want to kind of counterbalance the pressure just to remove it like that so you don't break any flash tubes or modeling lamps. I've been showing you the 400M strobe over here. In my hand is the 600. Physically, they are identical from the outside. Internally is really the only differences. You're just going to get more power out of that 600. So if you need that extra kick, pick up the 600, or the 400 is also a great option for a smaller studio. Now there's a couple of differences I've been talking about in the video between this and the XPRO. Physically, if I had the XPRO here, they really look the same as these. But what you're paying for in that Pro series, you're getting high-speed sync, you're getting 2 more stops of range, so they go down to 1/128th instead of 1/32. And they've got a high speed mode, and they've also got multi-burst mode. So if those aren't really things that you think you're going to be using, the 400 and 600Ms are really designed for you. It takes those features out, but it brings a lot of the price down, so you're not having to pay for features that you wouldn't necessarily use. Both are fantastic options. It just really depends on your budget and your type of shooting. So remember, we've got your controller covered for whatever camera you're shooting. Nikon, Canon, Sony, Panasonic, Olympus, Fuji, they're all there. So it's really easy to use these. Like we showed you before, you hook up the controller, you're ready to roll in your studio remotely, which is really nice. These are full metal body. Just really fantastic build quality and a really great price. So be sure to subscribe for all the latest news. And until next time, I'm Jesse at strobepro.com.